What's up, guys? Made it to Iloilo, and I came straight for the area that I'm most excited about as far as Iloilo being a unique city in the Philippines that I think will appeal to a lot of you guys. I just made a video recently talking about the walkability or lack thereof in Cebu City. Although I love Cebu City for a lot of other reasons, that's not one of them. It's not a great place to get out walking all around the city, although I do it and I like kind of the chaotic element of it, but it doesn't compare to this. I mean, we're talking about miles of this kind of thing. This pathway system goes on a long ways. It goes in different directions. You can access so many parts of the city on pathways and sidewalks that are maintained and that are nice, just like this. We're not looking at crumbling infrastructure here for a large percentage of Iloilo. It's not perfect, but it stands out. It's definitely top echelon type stuff when it comes to the Philippines. I mean, guys, this is super nice. And there's another pathway that I'll show you in this video that connects like the new part of town with all the new nice malls and the festive walk and all that stuff. And that takes you all the way down to the other part of town, the older part of town. So you essentially can get out walking or riding your regular bike all around town, and you don't have to worry about potholes and garbage and beat up sidewalks. It's quite nice. The things that I want to figure out in this video for you guys that others are asking about as well is it a little too sleepy? What about meeting other expats and being part of a community, which is definitely one of the perks of Cebu City. It's that great soft landing, and that's a big part of it because you can arrive and easily meet other expats, make some friends, figure out some plans from there, learn from others. I don't know what it would be like here. I've seen other foreigners here, but it's night and day different when it comes to like how many. And some of you guys might like that. I know a lot of guys don't want to be around, a lot of other expats. So anyways, I'm going to look into everything in this video, let you guys in on whether or not Iloilo will be a good home base for you guys in the Philippines. But I think at a minimum, if you're into this kind of thing, you want to get out and jog, you want to get out and bike, and if you really appreciate this kind of infrastructure, landscaping, things that are well kept and clean, I think you might be happy in Iloilo. All right, guys, it's a few days later now. I am back in Cebu City, and here are my thoughts after my trip to Iloilo to give you some perspective on whether or not you even want to make it part of your discovery trip. It may be the perfect spot, guys. After spending a few days there, I think Iloilo has so many attributes that I think will make it ideal for a lot of Westerners, a lot of foreigners. However, there's also some things that I left with thinking, you know what, this just isn't going to work for a lot of you guys. It's just not. It's definitely going to be a heck yeah or a heck no. So the positives, the things that stood out to me, to continue on with what I was talking about in the opening when I was walking down that beautiful pathway, that theme continued on for a few days. I really realized that Iloilo is a very nice city, guys. It is so nicely planned out. You can tell they put thought into what they were doing. So there's the old Iloilo, like the original downtown town proper, right? Where it all started. And since then, it has expanded out. And you could tell that the city planners wanted to do a good job with it. They knew they had the river system. They wanted to make people proud to live in Iloilo, to have pride in living there, to keeping it clean. Everything. They did a very good job. It is so expansive beyond just along the river, guys. To get around, the roads are wide and clean and nice. The traffic is manageable. Now, before I go too far with that, with the old part of downtown and this new, expansive, nice part of Iloilo, it's very different. There is more traffic as you get to the main downtown proper. It is a little bit more chaotic. Not fully like Cebu City, but it is more like that. The way that they've built the city out from there, they just did such a good job with it. They made sure everything was done so they can grow into it. It hasn't fully grown into the city right now. There seems to be lots of room, lots of space. It has a very peaceful, pleasant feel for a city when you get outside of the main town proper. What I think makes Iloilo unique compared to the rest of the Philippines is all of the new parts of it, how it's expanding out, not just a little bubble. In fact, you don't really get the bubble feel like you do in Cebu City. IT Park is a very distinctive place, and it has like a boundary. And when you leave it, it's very different once you leave it. I feel like with Iloilo, because of the way that it's sort of spread out, it just feels like that's the city. Like that's just how it is in all of the newer parts. And aside from the downtown area, guys, that does get the traffic in a little bit more chaotic down there. When you get outside of the new, nice Iloilo, in the other parts outside of that, it's just like chill little parts of town. Yeah, it's not all new and nice, but it has just like this chill, quaint feel to it. And it kind of just spreads out. And I did a lot of riding around on my motorbike in through these different neighborhoods up into nature, and I'll get into that a little bit more. But as far as like where you might live, if you lived in anywhere in the new part of Iloilo, the main living is condos. They have a bunch of condos now, like quite a few, and you can see them building more condos all around. So it's going to be more expansive with more development, more condos. I think Iloilo is not stopping anytime soon. I think it's going to keep growing. So if you like the nice new condo with the amenities where you can walk to things, restaurants and malls and shopping, lots of options for that. And the pricing seems to be very comparable. I wouldn't say that there's any huge advantage or disadvantage when it comes to that. The types of condos, the way they're built, the amenities, it's comparable to Cebu, it's comparable to BGC Manila. Of course, BGC Manila would be the top. Cebu has some really nice, it's got some so-so. It seems like Iloilo would be maybe even somewhere in between, to be honest, because they're really doing, I think, a fantastic job with it. Now, one of the downsides, I'm going to bounce back and forth from pros and cons just as I go. I say one of what could be a con for some of you guys when it comes to the way that it's developing and it's all nice and everything is that it's a little bit more mall and shopping and fancy focused. There are plenty of restaurants, plenty of international restaurants. That part's good, check. But it's a little more family feel. It's a little more just laid back and quiet. And so for the guys that really like the cool, the hip, the edgy, the live music, the rooftop bar, the stuff that you can get in Cebu City, despite the chaos and craziness, Cebu offers all that. You know, you have your brewery, there's like a speakeasy you can go to. There's lots of that. Manila, of course, has all that too, and then some. Iloilo is not being built with that in mind. It doesn't feel like. Now, I'm sure there's stuff, and there was like a little clubby thing in one of the areas, one of the malls, like an upper deck area where I can hear the loud music. I'm sure there's nightlife there, don't get me wrong. But the overall feel is more family or laid back, couple, you know? So with that said, for a single guy that's starting somewhere, it could be fine for a lot of you guys, but it may not be. It may be a place where you might feel a little bit bored, or you might feel almost lonely, or like, what am I doing here? Like, I'm just here and it's nice and it's clean, and yeah, the river, the walkways are all nice, but it's just a little too sleepy, maybe, right? That's something to really consider. I felt that way. There's not an expat presence there. I saw like 3 expats over 3 days. One of them was just traveling through, was just kind of checking it out. And so when you compare it to a place like Cebu or Manila, like BGC, for example, there is such a presence of expats where it makes it easy. It makes it easy for a soft landing. It makes it easy to quickly network. There's so many foreigners, which could be a good thing or a bad thing, of course, but it gives you options to find people that you can connect with, that you can feel you can relate with, especially early on, right? When you're just getting started. So you might feel a little bit on the outside looking in, perhaps. Now, this totally depends on you, your personality, what you like. Some people will love this. They'll love the fact that it's not overwhelming, expat vibe, expat community. And you want to get to know the locals and do that. However, I interact with locals, and I did, of course, on this trip too. There's a limitation on how much you can connect and vibe with locals. It's friendly, of course. Filipinos are very friendly, but the language barrier is a thing. It is a thing. Now, there are Filipinos, some that are very good with English, where you can get into the nuance of things and get deeper in conversation and really connect. But if you're not learning the language, and guys, it's Ilonggo, it's not Bisaya, although Tagalog as well, but it's a different dialect. If you've been learning Bisaya like I have been, it's like you got to start over again when you go there. But I just wanted to mention that. And so it's a little bit tougher to get into the local community unless you're learning the language and taking a lot more time to get to that point. I did do a little bit of research and I saw that there are expat groups in Iloilo. So, I've been to much smaller towns in the Philippines where you don't see any foreigners, but then you meet one and then you ask him and he's like, oh yeah, there's a community of us and they're here and there and everywhere. And once you get to know everyone, there's more than you think, even though you don't see them day to day. I don't know the details on that. If any of you do and you're from there and you feel like sharing, I have to imagine that there's a decent expat community there where you can make some buddies. And really at the end of the day, once you have a few buddies that you've met at some of these meetups, you're good to go on the friend scene. It's just maybe not going to come as quickly or as easily as a place like, Cebu or Manila or a bigger city center or a touristy spot where there's tons of foreigners and things like that. If you're looking to settle down, if you're in a relationship, I think, and if you want that kind of, more chill, relaxing type of city where you don't care about all the extra stuff and the energy and you really just want to appreciate that nice infrastructure and you're going to get out and use all the walkways and pathways, that's where Iloilo starts to seem like a much more ideal fit. Another thing, guys, I noticed when I was exploring out of the city, when you get out just a little bit, I noticed some like gated communities, or not even just gated, but just little neighborhoods where there's some homes where you can probably find a home that you can rent, whether it be higher end or middle end or whatever. You have that just outside of the city with a pretty easy commute to get into the city for anything that you need. And then you'd just be living in a more chill, barangay area where you have your little shops and stuff like that with a really chill vibe. Now, I didn't see any foreigners at all in these areas. And again, this might not be an issue for you guys, but it's something to consider. It's different. I'm telling you, when you're new to the Philippines and you just go to a place where it's just you and the locals only, for some of you, it might be a challenge, and you might feel a little bit out of place initially in Iloilo. I just wanted to make that point clear that this kind of thing, it wasn't just my feeling and observation. It's others too that I've talked to that have been there, that they liked it. It's impressive. It's nice and clean, but it felt like something was missing, some sort of energy or some sort of feeling like they might get bored there or feel lonely there, at least initially, if they just show up there by themselves. So keep that in mind, and you got to really check in with yourself and what you like and what your personality type is and what you might like. Hospitals, healthcare, top notch. I asked around about that, and I've heard about that before, that it's one of the better areas in the Philippines when you want to have like really easy, quick access to all of that, good healthcare, good doctors, things like that. There's a bunch of nursing schools in the area, so I think that's a huge check mark. Airport is right there with some decent direct flights. It's not the best. It's not as good as Cebu or Manila, but it's pretty decent. You can go direct to any of the major cities in the Philippines. So you can fly Iloilo to Manila, Iloilo to Cebu City, Davao City, Tagbilaran, CDO. What's the other one that I was reading? General Santos. All of the bigger cities in the Philippines, the majority of them, you can get direct. As far as getting direct to like some of the more tropical tourist destinations, limited. So you can't just fly to Siargao. You'd have to stop in Cebu or Manila. There is a direct flight to Puerto Princesa, which is the main city in Palawan. And then from there, it's like a 6-hour ride to El Nido. You can't go direct to El Nido. You can't go direct to Coron. You'd have to go through Cebu or Manila first. Limited on some of those flights, but not terrible either. Almost forgot, there's also direct flights out of the Philippines to Singapore, Hong Kong, and Bangkok. And apparently that list is growing, but I'm not sure what the next cities are that they're going to add to that list. You're right across the waterway to Negros, Bacolod, of course. It's only an hour ferry to get across. You have some nature escapes right there. And of course you have Boracay, 4-hour drive away, which is the most popular beach destination in the Philippines. So keep that in mind. That's something that's kind of cool. You don't have to fly anywhere. You can just drive. It's a little bit of a drive, but if you're going to go there and stay for a few days or a week, it's perfect, right? You have Rojas City about 2 hours and 20 minutes away. And then that's kind of a cool spot I've never been to, but it's got the longest beach in the Philippines. It's not white sandy beach, but I hear it's a great little town. It's on my list to go check out. And then you have just some more closer local nature stuff. I did a little exploring, went up to a place called Little Baguio. It's a higher elevation pine forest, did a little hiking, it's beautiful. You go through some different villages, just beautiful ride to get up there. And there was about 3 or 4 different routes I could have taken to get up to a couple of nature spots, some lookouts, a couple little waterfalls. And you have Guimaras Island right there too. I don't want to miss that. That's 15-20 minute ferry ride across from Iloilo. I've never been there, but it looks pretty cool. I think it's more nature focused. It's not a small island. It's got a decent amount to explore, a few beaches, a couple of resorts, things like that. Oh, and there's also Gigantes Islands, which is apparently really nice beaches and cliffs. It's about a 2.5 hour ride to get up there, and then another 1.5 hour ferry ride to get out there. And there's some resorts that you can stay at. So it's not like Iloilo doesn't have any decent options when it comes to nature escapes. But I don't think those are the big things when it comes to choosing Iloilo as your home base. I think the things that I was talking about before that, with the overall feel and vibe, and feeling like, are you at a place in your life where Iloilo makes the most sense? I think that can play into it quite a bit. Single guy just arriving in the Philippines. Is Iloilo the best starting point? Maybe for some, yes, for sure. But I think for a good amount, I don't know if it's the best starting point if you're on your own and you're just going somewhere. So I think that's a biggie right there. I do think it's worth checking out. I do think if you have a girlfriend, I think that should be part of your tour if you're trying to figure out a good place to live. There's no place like Iloilo, guys, when it comes to how nice and clean it is. And I cannot say enough about how nice it is to have all of those pathways, like designated pathways, not a little short one, not a little mini green space area like they do in BGC. I'm talking proper, dedicated, walking, biking, all over the place, like from new part of town all the way to the old part of town, along the river, different directions. You can get around and you can do it peacefully on a nicely maintained pathway with nice landscaping and looking around at nice, well-kept, areas. And so that definitely needs to be emphasized here, guys, and thinking about what is important to you. Cebu City is not going to be for everyone. There are plenty of guys that come here and they can't deal with it. The traffic, the noise, the pollution or the garbage, the infrastructure crumbling, outside of the bubbles of Cebu. There's pockets here and there, but there's a good amount of Cebu that's just chaos, man. It's chaos. Now, with that chaos comes an element of fun and charm and energy, and the everyday is a party in Cebu. It's like people are really friendly here. There's the vibe here that other guys are going to just, because of that, you overlook some of those drawbacks. I will say this too. Cebu City seems to be, it's a very transient place. It is definitely a gateway. It is, I think for many guys, a temporary, whether it be a few weeks, a few months, or a few years, it seems to be a place that's great for now, but looking for something better. And that's where I think, or more I shouldn't say better, just more appropriate for a certain time in life, right? So I think that's where Iloilo can really make sense for perhaps a majority of guys, where they start in Cebu, they start in Dumaguete, they start in BGC, whatever. It's comfortable, the amenities, the foreigners are there. And then as you explore, you either kind of downsize into more of a provincial nature area, or you feel you need the city and you just sort of slow things down and you go to a place like Iloilo or Bacolod. Of course, that is on the map for a lot of people, and some other YouTubers have moved there recently and seem to like it. For me, it's fine. Bacolod is fine. I like Iloilo better in how they're developing the city. I think they're doing an exceptional job. I think that you notice it right away and you can just appreciate what they've done with the city. I think if they add more to it and bring a little more life to Iloilo, although people that live there probably are saying right now, no, we don't want that. We like that it's the way it is. We like that it's just chill. Of course, to each their own. A lot of it is out of our hands. It's part of the development of the Philippines. Things are moving, things are developing. There's money coming in, there's growth happening all over the Philippines in various areas. Let me talk about dating. So obviously I've never lived there and I can't really speak on Iloilo in that regard, but I've lived in the Philippines long enough to know this. I wouldn't overthink any particular area as far as potentially meeting someone. And here's why. You know, meeting a partner here in the Philippines can kind of happen any which way on any given day. Of course, there's differences. If you're in a very touristy area, you know, the type of opportunities you have to meet a wife in Boracay is probably different than in a small, quaint town where you're just getting to know the community. It's a very different vibe and a different way of meeting, and the type of Filipinas that you'll find in a tourist spot or even Cebu, where dating culture is just kind of wild here. It's just everything. You'll see things here that you will not see in Iloilo. I was in the elevator a while ago when I was staying at a different building, and this guy was like 7 years old, and he had like 5 Filipinas in the elevator with him going up to his room. And they were like early 20s with this old guy, and he kind of winked at me. And I'm like, all right, buddy, have a good time. You know, I don't think you'll see a lot of that in Iloilo. With that said, it really depends on what you're looking for. And I think Iloilo as a place to just chill out in a peaceful, pleasant type of city where people are working class, going about their day, I think you have a really good opportunity to meet someone right there in Iloilo that could be perfect. In fact, it could be a better place to meet. There's not a ton of foreigners there. It's less crazy dating pool, where in Cebu you have to dodge a lot of things also. I think there'd be less of that to worry about in Iloilo. Another thing, guys, no matter where you live in the Philippines, a lot of guys still meet their partners online. Even when you're right there in the city with Filipinas everywhere, online is still the #1 way that guys meet their girlfriends, whoever they're dating or they end up getting serious with. And that's just from me meeting so many people here and asking how they met. And online just seems to be the most common. Of course, there's plenty of instances where people meet in every other way, but online is very common. So with that said, you might be in Iloilo, you might hop on a dating site and meet someone in Bacolod, like an hour ferry right away, or wherever. She might be anywhere in the Philippines, and there's everything in between as far as meeting. So don't overthink that part. Just enjoy your life, get your life set up, and that's a better way to meet someone anyways, whether it be boots on the ground or online. And I will say this, guys, thinking about Iloilo and the type of women that are there, there is definitely that working class, a lot of nurses there, of course nursing students, but a lot of healthcare jobs, a lot of middle class, upper middle class. If you're interested in dating Filipinas like that, less provincial, less poor mountain province Filipina, and more established, educated, working, relatability perhaps, things like that, Iloilo is perfect for that. And I think that type of Filipina really is ideal for a lot of guys. Keep that in mind as well. And guys, at the end of the day, there really is no perfect place. You have to figure out what is the most important thing for you, for that day-to-day lifestyle that you want to live, the feeling that you want to have in your town that you're living in. What do you want to have access to? What vibe and feeling do you want? You know, are you single? Are you settled down, looking to get married and have kids? Some of the bigger picture things. Of course, healthcare could be a biggie. Access to an airport can be a biggie. And once you start checking those things off, that's where you have to start to decide of where you want to be. Do you want to be remote in nature? Do you want to walk out your door and go snorkeling, check out a waterfall, and live that island life? Well, live in Siquijor. Deal with brownouts. Deal with limited options for shopping, groceries, things like that. But you're living that amazing Philippines island life. Do you need access to the city? Do you need the healthcare? Do you need all that other stuff? You get my point, guys. Figure out what's important for you. No place in the Philippines has everything. That really ideal spot that just can check all those boxes just doesn't exist. So you have to kind of be a little bit more open-minded, a little more adaptable to the types of places that are here in the Philippines for you guys to live. You know, enjoy the low cost of living, enjoy the friendly vibe, enjoy the good weather, and then make it work for you. Make your life work for you, where you can, if you don't have certain things in your town, but you have at least the biggest things checked, then just make sure it's in your budget to go and do those things on your free time. Take your little trips. Then your life and your lifestyle all comes together so it works perfectly for you. Guys, hope that paints a pretty good picture for you, at least to get started as far as planning your discovery trip. If you want to put Iloilo on the map to go and check it out, whether you've never been to the Philippines or you're here and you're looking for a new place to live, that should give you at least a sense of whether or not it's worth going over there to check it out. You could always go there and try it out too. If you're living in a situation where you can just go somewhere and do a short-term month to month, I think that's a great way to go. I don't think anyone should watch a YouTube video and make a huge life decision and commit to anything, guys. Whether it be Cebu, Manila, Iloilo, some amazing tropical tourist spot, you have to try these places out. Don't overcommit yourself to anything in the Philippines, and your life is going to be so much better. You might be able to do what I did and go there and spend a few days and know one way or the other if you want to continue exploring it. And finally, guys, just to wrap things up with my opinion on whether or not this trip changed my thinking on whether or not I want to go back to Iloilo right away and live there and try it out in a longer term. When I left Iloilo, guys, I left with good thoughts about Iloilo, very impressed with Iloilo, and there's a part of me that can see myself living there for sure and loving it for all these positive reasons that I brought up. However, there was also something that I felt was missing there, at least for this particular time in my life, that made me feel like it's not the right time for me to live there. And if I thought that I wanted, and I've thought about this too, and I've talked about it on my channel, if I feel like Cebu is just a little bit too much, I love Cebu, but if I feel the infrastructure and all the downside of Cebu that I've talked about that can grow tiring after a while, and I want something nicer like an Iloilo where I can just get out and enjoy everything, I think BGC for me is a better option. This is my guess. I'm not moving anywhere tomorrow or anything like that. And the reason why I think BGC and being in Manila is better is because there's something about, for me, having the vibe, the energy, the expat community, the networking, that kind of thing. For me, it gives me just a better feeling overall of where I'm living and what I have access to, with an international airport where I can go anywhere in the Philippines direct, way more options, and then international, way more options. There's something about that makes me feel more excited or more like I could feel at home there or feel comfortable there. However, at some point in life, if I get to the point where it's a little bit more settled down time, then I can see Iloilo being the perfect kind of, downsize from a place like BGC to still have the niceness and all that, because I do like that. I really appreciate that. I like to get out and walk. I like to get out and, I miss riding my bike and all that stuff. And that's what excited me about checking out Iloilo again, to see if something would grab me when I was there. But I think I can accomplish that in BGC if I feel like I really need more of that compared to Cebu, and then go from there. But Iloilo is not off my radar still, even after me telling you this. It's still there. It's just timing and all of that. And I think it's worth for you guys, depending on where you're at in your life and what your personality type is, that Iloilo is definitely worth checking out, guys. It's a very impressive city. I think it's amazing what they're doing over there, and I think it's just an ideal spot to live for so many of you guys. And the guys that do live there, I know they love living there. So, all right, guys, that's enough. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. See you guys soon. Bye.